Wonderful. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. This is our second webinar with NB Peer. We're very excited about it. It gives us an opportunity to kind of talk with each other, talk to our consumers, our fans, if you will. We have a lot to offer here at NB Peer, but we did feel like a really great topic for our next webinar here is the 5 proven supplements that you need starting today. So we have Valerie here with us, which we'll get to in a second. But we're excited because when you talk about supplements, it's a busy world. There's a lot out there. And if you can kind of start to narrow it down as far as what you actually need, it's much easier to make the choices as far as actually purchasing and consuming any of these supplements. So to kick things off, I'll let Valerie introduce herself here.
I'm Valerie Latona. I'm a former editor-in-chief of Shape magazine, and I've also served as advisor to the National Institutes of Health Office of Research on Women's Health. So I was very steeped in the research with top scientists and experts there at the NIH. I'm a health writer, editor, and author. I've won numerous awards, all in the health space because I'm extremely passionate about health and finding new ways to live healthier and to be healthier. I'm also a mom of 3, so I'm a multitasker and I'm juggling a lot. So I know how hard it is to do what's right to stay healthy on a day-to-day basis. So that's why, in this webinar, culling down the supplements to the 5 proven supplements is simple and easy, because I know that we're really busy, and, making it simple and making health simple for people is what I love to do. I love exercise. I do all sorts of exercise. And I'm just passionate about sharing all the knowledge and the research that I know about. And I'm so thrilled to be here today with Tom to share my knowledge with you.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you for joining us, Valerie. We're super excited to have you here today to talk to obviously bringing a wealth of experience. Love having the mom angle too. I'll get to in a second, but I'm a father myself, so I totally get it. Our brain has only so much capacity when we're running all over the place. But in case you haven't met me yet, my name is Tom Smurr. I've been a dietitian since 2014, and I work here at NB Pure as our education manager, and also working with some of our practitioners that we partner with. I've had many previous roles, such as with women's, infants, children, where I learned a lot about like kind of like that process of giving birth and then raising children, all the way to some of our more startup companies like Factor 75 and Vital Proteins, which have gone on to become bigger things, doing things like education, recipe development, sales, you name it. I've done a lot of different things in this field. Most of my expertise comes in the form of wellness, performance, gut health, and recipe development. I do have a passion from just being an athlete myself, growing up in that kind of performance and mobility space. But that being said, nutrition is widespread, and so it's really easy to kind of talk about the entirety of it all. Gut health is another passion of mine, just because we all deal with so many different things when it comes to gut health. I am a dad. I have a 4-year-old son. His name is Michael. And then in my free time, I do triathlon training, swimming, biking, running, that sort of thing. I'm getting into golfing. It's been a lot of fun this year. And then I do cook. I like to cook. I'm obviously into recipe development. So, as my wife likes to put it, I'm a bit of a mad scientist when it comes to the kitchen. So, definitely helps me. Obviously, nutrition first kind of guy. It makes a lot of sense to love to cook. But let's kick things off. But before we do so, I very specifically want to share this disclaimer with everybody, that this webinar is really for educational purposes only. I don't want anyone here to specifically take what we're saying as medical advice. Obviously, everything needs to be taken with your personal health in mind. So obviously, take what we can tell you, and then maybe if you need to, visit it with your healthcare provider before actually making any action. We want you to be safe. We don't want you to take things too far, that sort of thing. So please make sure to use this as educational only. All right, let's talk supplements. So Valerie, let's kick things off with what you recommended as your #1 supplement, fiber. What do you got for us on fiber?
Well, I will say this. We had a question before we started from
Oh,
somebody
okay.
who asked about, taking Mago 7 all the
Yep.
time, feeling like they're dependent on it. Mago 7 is a great product for getting rid of that backed up feeling and feeling constipated. And I would like to say that fiber is the nutrient that is critical. And so if you are looking to kind of, take Mago 7 as necessary and wean yourself off a little bit, In the interim, fiber is where you want to go. Now, why is fiber so important? Fiber helps to promote gut health. It is critical for regularity when
Yep.
we're talking about constipation and also bloating and gas and just not feeling so great and balanced down there. Um, it is also critical for maintaining healthy cholesterol levels as
Yeah,
well as healthy blood sugar levels, right? So
absolutely.
it is the reason I put this number one is because it is so critical. It is available in fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, whole grains, beans, legumes, and things like that. But 90% of Americans are not getting enough. And this is according to the USDA. And as a busy, working mom myself, I find that there are some days when I'm eating super healthy, I'm cooking, great meals, and then there are other days when I'm on the go, right? I'm
Mhm.
rushing between juggling, sports events with my kids, or I'm traveling, and it's just not easy to get the amount that we need per day. And how much is that, right? It's about 25 to 30 grams of fiber a day. Most Americans are getting 15 or less.
Yes.
And the other part of fiber, which is very, very important, is that fiber is very important for maintaining your weight.
Yeah.
And seen, right, Tom, and we've seen so much lately about these, they're called GLP-1 agonists, and they're medications like Ozempic or Wegovy, or they're basically semi-glutide medications. And
Correct.
these medications help to stimulate a hormone in the gut called the GLP-1 hormone. And what that hormone does, well, it helps with your insulin levels, right? But it also helps with satiety and
Yeah.
feeling satisfied after what you eat. And it's triggered when you eat food. So it's not a surprise to me. And this is it's not a surprise to me that we have 90% of people not getting enough fiber on a daily basis. And we also have an overweight epidemic in the United
Right.
States. And so the natural way to support the GLP-1 hormone release in the gut is through fiber.
Correct.
So if you get enough fiber on a daily basis, you are helping that hormone to be stimulated, as well as having the other benefits that we talked about. So it's such a critical nutrient, and the fact that so many people are not getting enough is why I put this number one. But so I have, and this is one way that I was introduced to NB Pure was through their daily multifiber.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, Tom, it was actually Dana.
Oh,
Dana is the
okay.
CEO and founder of NB Pure, like an incredible woman, like a
Right.
mom of as well, super healthy, full of lots of great health advice. And I follow her on Instagram. And if you don't follow her, you should as well as NB Pure. I think it's at Dana Pratt on
I
Instagram.
believe so. Yeah.
She,
Yeah.
yeah, she had a suggestion of what she does is she makes a kind of like a chocolate milkshake, which is
Yep.
she uses the savory mocha fiber, which is the one I
Yep.
have.
It's
And
pictured right there on the slide there too.
right. And she mixes it with I think she said it was coconut milk. And
Mhm.
you can also use any type of milk. You give it a really, really good shake because it's super thick.
Yeah.
And you drink that and it tastes like a chocolate milkshake. So I love taking it on those days when I'm not getting enough, and I typically take it
Right.
at night when I'm like, oh, I look at my day and I'm like, I definitely have not eaten as
Right.
much fiber as I want. So it's super delicious and it's great to have on hand for those days when you need more fiber. But I know Tom can talk a little bit more about daily multifiber.
Yeah, no, I love the story and I love the recipes. Obviously, Dana's great. She actually does have, I think, a good handful of recipes to share if you do follow her. But that being said, so Daily Multifiber is just this really great product that takes more than just fiber. It actually has five different fibers in it, which is another kind of layer to all of this. That's why we say that there's all these different sources of fiber because fiber, yes, is fiber. That's really just the parent name for a lot of different kinds of things. You can get fiber from vegetables or fruits. Those are different kinds of fibers. You can get fiber from nuts, another different kind of fiber, and they all have slightly different benefits and everything else. So when you talk about our daily multi-fiber, you're getting so much more than just what's typically on the market or really cheap, which would be more so in the realm of psyllium, which I'm not here to, bastardize psyllium. That's actually in this product too. It has a lot of benefit as well. But when you have the multiple sources of the fiber, you're doing so much more for your microbiome, and your microbiome being that healthy gut environment of probiotic, kind of like those microorganisms that really keep your gut functioning properly, which also is related to proper GLP-1 function we were talking about before. You having those multiple sources for it is just multiple food sources for those different kinds of bacteria as well. So it's really awesome to see a product like ours start to get a little bit more traction because we want those multiple sources. And to
Right.
make it as simple as, adding a scoop versus, like you said, those busy days where you just do not have the time to make a beautiful salad or kind of get those raw vegetables or a piece of fruit even can be difficult to come by. You being able to kind of make this milkshake or add it to a little bit of water. What I do is actually shoot it with a little bit of water in the morning so that I can get that boost of fiber to help me feel full throughout the day. It's wonderful. So it definitely helps you with all of the things we've mentioned here as far as making sure you get your fiber needs.
Right. And Tom, I wanted to go back to that question that we had
Sure.
before we started about Mago 7. So Mago
Yeah.
7 helps to get rid of that backed up feeling, but
Right.
fiber will help you stay regular on a daily
Correct.
basis. And then when you have the symptoms of feeling backed up, you could always go back to Mago 7. So if you're looking to kind of like just wean off the daily or nightly use of that, getting enough fiber in your diet can definitely help. Um,
100%.
and yeah.
Yeah, getting this layer is, and we like to call it like the Mago 7 helping you get rid of what you don't want, whereas the daily multifiber is what you're building back with better. So like that's how we kind of like to think about it here. But in the sake of time, let's move on to number two. I know, and if there's any questions about fiber, we do have that Q&A function. Please put that in there. We'll have time at the end for questions. But number two, B12. I love vitamin B12. Go ahead, Valerie. What
You
are you
know,
thinking about B12?
Vitamin B12, it's interesting. I wasn't really super honed in on this for several years ago. My doctor told me I should start taking it. And I was like, B12, why do I need B12 specifically? And the reason is because B12 is critical for our energy, it's critical for brain function. It's an essential nutrient that most people don't think about. But if you are vegan or vegetarian or plant-based, and I'm plant-based, so I don't tend to eat a lot of meat, you are not most likely not getting enough B12. And why is that? Because the dietary sources of B12 are all animal-based, except for nutritional yeast. So eggs, meats, fish, dairy. You can also get it in some fortified foods. But so if you're vegetarian, vegan, or plant-based, you definitely want to be supplementing with B12. But as we get older, and I would say this for if you're 50 plus, your gut starts to absorb less B12 from the foods that we eat. And this is according to the research. So we know that the gut function is not where it should be. So by supplementing with B12, you are ensuring that you're getting enough B12 on a daily basis. And this is something that I take religiously. In the morning, it's a water soluble vitamin, which means that you can take it on an empty stomach or you could take it with food. You could really take it any time of the day. So, and I know that NB Pure has a great spray B12 that Tom will talk about.
Yeah, so when we talk about B12, yes, it is water soluble. There's a lot less risk, almost no risk as far as taking too much of it or anything else. You actually will see a lot of the time with this supplement that the dosage will be an outrageous number of like the percentage that you need for a daily dose as far as the RDAs go. And that is normal because of it being water soluble. That basically means the body is capable of excreting it very easily into like urine. So B12 is one of those vitamins. All the vitamin Bs, all the vitamin Cs will be in that kind of boat. But that being said, NB Pure, we actually put it in liquid form too. It's a very easy to use spray. So when Valerie uses it, she's just, one spray by the mouth and you've got your B12 needs for the entire day. I like to use mine in the afternoon when you kind of hit that, we'll call it 2 p.m. lull, right? Because and and it's in a lot of energy drinks for the same reason, but it does give you that energy boost. B12 is amazing at unlocking the energy potential of your foods. Um, we take it a step further here at MB Pure, though. We make sure that what you're getting is not just vitamin B12, it's actually methylated B12. What does that mean? Vitamin B12 is that chemical structure, right? But when you have the methylation to it, so there's a methyl group on that chemical compound, it actually is in its active state. Okay, so that means your body does not need to methylate it to make it active and usable. You're taking the active form. And that is important from just a quality perspective. You're getting so much more out of that vitamin B12 versus possibly wasting because your body's either not able to methylate it enough. As Valerie mentioned, as we age, we kind of lose a lot of that function in metabolism to do so. So it being a methylated B12 is a huge deal. This is actually something that I recommend to most people when they're looking at any supplement when it comes to B12. And we'll get to a multivitamin in a second, but any B12 containing supplement should be in its methylated form. It's a really easy, quick check to see what truly the quality of that product is. Because when it's not methylated, I like to think that it's just a lesser product. Not that it's completely, not helpful, but it's that lower level of quality.
Tom, what are we looking for on the label specifically to say that it's methylated?
Yeah, it should say so. B12 is typically called cobalamin. It's just its other scientific name, but you're looking literally for the word methyl. So whether it's on the front of the label, like we have there on the screen, methyl B12, on the back of the label where it must be labeled on that supplement facts panel, it'll say methylcobalamin. So it's all one word. It's a little bit busy, I get that, but that word methyl really does stick out.
And I also
Um,
want to add that the interesting thing about B12 when I started to take it is, as you'll notice from this B12 spray, which I like, it's super convenient to take, it's a red color, and that's not a food
yeah.
dye. So that's the
Yep.
natural color of B12. And that's another thing that I like about the NB Pure supplements. Everything's natural, it's pure, and you're not going to find any food dyes in any of the NB Pure products from what I
And
had.
to take it even that step further, you mentioned how, those who are vegan or vegetarian are at the highest risk of this B12
Right.
deficiency, which is very true. Very easy to find that in the research. This is a vegan sourced B12, so we are able to concentrate it in a way, methylate it still. So it is rather directed towards that population. So it can be a very helpful tool for those following that kind of lifestyle. All
Essential.
right,
Let's move
yeah,
on.
essential, exactly. So let's move on to number three. Tell me about multivitamins, Valerie.
I like to look at multivitamins as the security blanket of nutrition. It's a bit of an insurance policy that you're
Yeah,
getting essential vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that you need on a daily basis. And why is this important? Because there has been so much research that has shown that the food supply. So obviously, food is where you want to be getting your nutrients. That's
correct. Yes.
ideally where we all want to be getting our nutrients from. But our food supply, so our plants today have about 25 to 50% less nutrients than they did 50 years ago. And why is that? Because our soil is depleted of key nutrients. It's just because of the way farming is today. And this is even true with organic fruits and vegetables. That
Correct.
we're just not getting enough of the key nutrients, magnesium, vitamin C, zinc, that we need on a daily basis. And so I look at a multivitamin as this kind of insurance that you're just getting enough of the basic nutrients that your cells need every day to function for everything that we do on a daily basis. But there's been some interesting research lately which has shown that multivitamins, and particularly multivitamins with 20 or more essential nutrients, so the key nutrients that our body needs to function, can help slow down cognitive decline. Does that mean that you'll never have cognitive decline? No. Does it mean you'll not get Alzheimer's disease? No. No supplement can make claims like that, but it does slow down cognitive decline. So what we have found and the research has shown is that somehow these nutrients you're taking are really making a difference on the cellular level of your brain. And so that as we get older, obviously the forgetfulness, the fogginess, the lack of attention, the things like that become more of a concern. And that's why taking a regular multivitamin is very important. And I will say too that when we talked about B12, it's a water soluble vitamin, right? So you can still take your water soluble vitamin on top of your multivitamin because you're not, as Tom said, you're not really have to worry about overdosing. You're just making sure your body has what it needs to function optimally every day. And you should also ideally take a multivitamin with a meal. But
Yeah.
Tom will talk a little bit about the MultiGuard Plus, which is NB Pure's multivitamin.
Yeah, absolutely. And taking with the meal, I think is a really important part here because we just talked a lot about B12 and its water soluble nature and kind of how that helps from that angle. The other end of the spectrum, which is the other vitamins, A, D, E, and K, those are fat soluble vitamins. And so they really do not get absorbed very well or become usable without some kind of fat source being consumed. So I would even go further than just taking it with a meal, is actually taking it with a fat sourced food. So that can be as simple as, butter on your bread or some nuts or, you cooking with olive oil, for example. There's a lot of ways that you can do that. And so yes, the multivitamin is kind of that like fail safe as far as nutrition goes. It is so true to say, like, yes, we can all do our best to kind of reach those nutritional goals and those recommended daily allowances, as they are called. It's really difficult every single day. 3 meals. Valerie's got 3 children, and you can only do so much, right? And so to have that extra layer, especially when we can kind of correlate it with like longer term cognition ability. Um, why not is kind of how my brain thinks about it. Layered in with some of these other things that unfortunately have come to pass, which is that, soil condition and just like the quality of certain fruits and vegetables, especially, or even our meats. So when it comes to the multivitamins, what I like to really pay attention to is format. And so we have MultiGuard Plus here at NB Pure, and it is a complete smorgasbord of, like you said, like the 20 plus kind of micronutrients that you are looking for to get out of your foods. Obviously, without a kind of calorie bag. That's typically the other thing about multivitamins. They're not typically adding calories. So when you're looking at these multivitamins like MultiGuard, you're looking at the back of the label, that supplement facts panel. It takes a little bit of practice, but as you start to look at them, you'll start to see that the format of those vitamins and minerals are back there and that the different ones are different qualities of them. All the way to the point where things like magnesium, especially, the different format actually gives you like a different benefit, right? A lot of people on this probably know about our Mago 7. The benefit of Mago 7 as a magnesium oxide compound is for, relieving constipation or even bloating and that sort of thing, typically. That's what we hear a lot of people use it for. But there are other forms of magnesium, like magnesium glycinate, that have more of that kind of like elemental availability of magnesium itself, that chemical, so that your body can function properly. So you want to start to look at those things on the back of the label. You want to start to see methylcobalamin or methyl B12. You want to see like your minerals be chelated, is what it's called, where they're attached to an amino acid. It makes them very absorbable. It makes them very bioavailable. And so when you look at those things, you end up with a better multivitamin that you are maybe paying a little bit more for, but you're actually getting much more benefit out of. And that's where we like to kind of pride ourselves on this MultiGuard Plus. It's a rather robust formula that gets you all of those things.
Right. And Tom, the other thing that I like about MultiGuard Plus is it has the nootropics. And there's
Correct.
been so nootropics, what are they? They are kind of like they help with cognitive health. There's
That's
been
right. Yeah.
tremendous amount of research that has shown that these nootropics, and these are things like ashwagandha,
Mhm.
GABA, L-theanine,
Yep.
they help. to support cognitive health. They help to support memory and stress management and focus and attention. And what I like about the MultiGuard Plus is that it has these. So, in addition to the research that has shown that the normal, kind of 20 plus essential nutrient multivitamin helps with cognitive health, this one in particular has also these nootropics that are just steeped in research in terms of the benefits for the brain.
Yes, I cannot agree more. It's a bit of a buzzword these days, this nootropics, like what's going on with these, but you hit it right on the head of the nail there. So this is even more so, right? Helping with that kind of cognitive ability. One might even imagine a little bit from like a stress perspective, right? Things like L-theanine or ashwagandha also have a effect on your stress response, something that is definitely, a little bit more rampant these days. And so I think that when you combine all of these things, it just makes a lot of sense to be this daily taking thing. So when it comes to that kind of fail-safe nutritional blanket, yeah, I mean, it doesn't really get much better than this. And not to kind of discredit or not take anything else, this does cover a lot of your bases. So this is a really easy one-stop shop when it comes to that nutritional support. So that being said, obviously it doesn't have any fiber in it. It doesn't necessarily have these other boosts of certain things if you do need higher dosages for your own personal health, but it is going to be knocking out a lot of those nutritional needs. So let's move on to number four. I love this one. This number four is one of my favorites, probiotics.
Right, probiotics. So probiotics, what are probiotics? They're beneficial bacteria,
Mhm.
and they're critical for the gut. So the gut or the microbiome is teeming with microorganisms, and so it's not just good bacteria; it's bad bacteria, it's parasites, it's fungi. They're all living in happy synergy together, working to support the body. And what does the gut do? It helps to support immune health. 70% of immune cells are found in the gut. It's
Yep.
also critical for just regularity and gut support and digesting foods. So we need our gut to be healthy to digest foods properly, so that the gut can absorb the nutrients that our cells need. So without a healthy gut, you may not be getting all the nutrition that you need from the food that you're eating. But also, 95% of serotonin is also produced in the gut. And so having a healthy gut is also critical for a good mood and for a healthy mood. So there's just so many benefits. We can't discuss them all here today about a healthy gut, but probiotics I look at as like the generals of this microorganism army, right? So when you have
Yep.
enough healthy bacteria in your gut, everything is working as it should. When you don't have enough healthy bacteria, you might have too much bad bacteria in the gut, and then things start to get out of sync and you start to notice symptoms. So gastric distress, in bloating, and all sorts of other kind of digestive upsets, as well as maybe energy and mood. The other thing I will say about probiotics, and this is a personal story, is that several years ago I got E. coli from eating, a romaine lettuce salad with shrimp at a restaurant, and
Yep.
I am a religious probiotic taker. I take it every day. And my doctor said to me that she believed I didn't have worse symptoms or didn't end up, God forbid, hospitalized because I had such a good kind of solid base of healthy bacteria already in the gut. And Tom, we see this today. I mean, I feel
Yeah.
like every time I turn on the news, it's carrots are being recalled for E. coli, or
Just happened.
frozen waffles, E. coli or listeria. I mean, these are all forms of bad bacteria, and we're exposed to so much in our
Yep.
daily diet that I feel like having a good source of healthy bacteria is just helps to support our health and our immunity.
Correct.
And you can get it from foods like yogurt and kimchi and sauerkraut and kombucha and all sorts of foods. I personally don't think it's enough. We're not getting enough through our foods, which is why I personally take a probiotic and why I put it on this list.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree completely. Probiotics is fascinating, and maybe the best slash worst thing about it is we've scratched the surface on
Right.
understanding the microbiome and probiotics at all. And so when we talk about the microbiome and probiotics, like every single person is different. Why is that? Because your environment impacts it, your daily diet impacts it, your sleep cycle impacts it, your exercise. I mean, you name it, it's like this other person that lives in your gut. So everyone's is going to be different, this different fingerprint. But that being said, with what we've done with a lot of the research on probiotics is really boil it down to very specific strains of probiotics and then see what benefit that brings. And so what we've learned is that there are a lot of strains and they all kind of, once again, kind of like vitamins and minerals, have a different function. And so different people will have different kind of colonies of these good bacteria to help them on their daily adventure of keeping the body healthy and safe and well and so on and so forth. And so what we've done with our probiotic, it's aptly named Poohbiotics, of course, is make sure that we dialed in on very specific strains that are all kind of related to your kind of stool health and your regularity. So people who have any kind of issue with going to the bathroom, that is what this probiotic is designed for, because there are probiotics designed out there for women's health, for brain health, for a lot of different reasons, immune health. This one's going to be very much focused on things like IBS type symptoms, IBD, and you can certainly start to strengthen that microbiome very specifically because of that. And so when we look at probiotic supplements in general, including ours, what you really want to look for is multiple strains, which ours has six, as you can see there, and then the number of organisms present. Now, they are living organisms that you see, whether you have to refrigerate it or not, everyone's going to be different. Ours, you do not have to refrigerate. But you at time of manufacture have a certain amount of organisms in there that you then eventually consume, and it contributes to that microbiome. So there is kind of like a freshness scale as far as probiotics go. But what we do here, because we believe in quality at MB Pure, is we make sure we load those capsules with as much as possible to get you that on average dose that we put on the back of that supplement panel.
Right. And I
So
do,
it
and
does
Tom,
matter.
on the label, it should say what CFUs. Is that like, I think that's colony forming units, right? So when you're
You
looking for the amount or the variety or diversity, you're looking for CFUs.
That is correct. So when you flip it over, once again, we're going back to that supplement facts panel. You just got to start practicing and looking at these things. You flip it over, you're going to see multiple, like, so there's a comma. They're very, very sciencey, italicized names for these probiotics that you'll see, but you want to see multiples. All right. Unless you've been told by like a healthcare provider that you specifically should get like one kind of strain, I still recommend people get multiples. The next thing to that, like Valerie's talking about, they are called CFUs. It's just the unit of measure for these organisms because it's a little bit more unique. You cannot go by weight, right? Because there are these different strains that all have different kind of properties to them, including weight. So something could be really small in weight, but have more CFUs than something that's just a heavier kind of microorganism. So it does matter. I do think that around anywhere from 5 billion up CFUs is what I like to kind of call like a good starting point for getting a supplemental probiotic into your diet. Ours has 10 billion, so you're going to get a nice little double dose every day. And for those of you who are not privy, we didn't mention this before, but it pairs extremely well with fiber, which we talked about first, like our daily multi-fiber. And that is because fiber is also considered something called a prebiotic. A lot of people get confused by that term, but prebiotic is really just food for probiotics. So the reasoning for that is fiber is what it's really built to do is it's really hard to digest down, right? It's kind of like the roughage. It gets down, it gets all the way into the intestines and the colon, and there the microbiome feeds on it. And so there is a lot of synergistic nature to taking a probiotic and a fiber at the same time. For the most part, I always recommend this. There's only very rare situations where maybe fiber's not being well tolerated at the time from a GI stress perspective, where you'd want to wait until the microbiome is a little bit healthier. But still, that being said, I highly recommend pairing the two. There's even a very small dose of some of the same probiotics and prebiotics in our daily multi-fiber on a much smaller scale. So I think it's about 1 billion CFUs per serving as far as a daily multi-fiber goes. But we did that on purpose because we understand that synergistic relationship, and so should you. All right. We're moving on to our last supplement, and then we'll have some time for some questions. Our last supplement today is vitamin D.
Vitamin D, so, so important. There's been so much research on vitamin D,
Mhm.
which is actually not a vitamin, it's a hormone,
No.
but it's
Yep.
considered, it's called a vitamin. And it's called a sunshine vitamin. So we get vitamin D, our body naturally produces vitamin D when UV sunlight hits our skin. So you can also get it through foods like oily fish or beef liver or eggs or dairy or mushrooms that have been exposed to sunlight. But it's typical and fortified foods, so fortified milks and orange juices and things like that. But you're typically not getting enough of what you need from food because sunlight is the main source. And the reason I included this now is because as the days get cooler and they get shorter, we get
Yes.
less vitamin D from the sunlight in the wintertime. And so I have a rule of thumb, which is when the clocks change in the fall, you know you have to supplement with vitamin D. And when they change in the spring, if you're typically not outdoors a lot or not getting a lot of sunlight, you can stop supplementing with vitamin D. But you always, when the clocks change, you know to
Mhm.
change up your vitamin D intake. Why is it important? It's critical for bone health. It's critical for immune health regulation. It protects against diabetes and chronic diseases. And so this is a fat soluble vitamin. So unlike B12,
Yes.
you definitely want to take this with food, or as Tom said, you want to take it with some food that contains some sort of a fat. I love the vitamin D version that NB Pure has because it's a spray, so it's super convenient
Yes.
to take. But Tom can talk a little bit about that and also what the difference is between D3 and D2, which are two types of vitamin D that you'll see out there in the supplement aisle.
Correct. Yes. So vitamin D, a huge one. I'm in the Midwest. Anyone who's in the Midwest typically should be taking maybe it always, year-round type of thing, just based off of weather and cloudiness and whatnot. But yes, vitamin D, almost hilariously called a vitamin. It is hormonal activity that it's doing. But I guess it gets grandfathered in as a vitamin. But yes, D is going to be one of those really important ones, especially as it gets darker out. I think the sun in here is setting in Chicago around 5 o'clock at night. So
Right.
like, you're just not going to get that sunlight unless you've got a sweet corner office or something like that. That being said, so when it comes to vitamin D supplements, a lot of people are recommended vitamin D by their doctors. And so it gets to this place of, okay, well, then now what? How much, whatever else. So let's get into that just real quick here. First off is the format. Once again, we're going to talk about format here. Another thing that MVP really pays attention to. And D3, it'll say that right on the front of the label or even the back. D3 is going to be that better format for you that's readily absorbable, more bioavailable. D2 is just considered a lesser version. That one is going to be more so sourced from vegetables. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. It just means you're getting less. All right. It will be likely less expensive, but it will also likely be less effective. So as best as you can possible, choosing the vitamin D3 just means you're getting a more bioavailable or usable by the body version of the vitamin D. So that's why we choose D3 here. And that is also why, if you can kind of see there on the label, this is not considered a vegan or vegetarian supplement of ours because it is not vegan or vegetarian. That is kind of associated with that D3 nature if we want to keep it completely natural like we always do here.
And this is the
So,
product that we're giving away, right? That's
oh
being given
yeah.
in this webinar. Yeah. So
Yes,
I think
thank you
it's
for bringing
really
that up. If anyone missed it who registered, you are getting a free one of these. And just so everyone is really clear on how that's going to happen after our webinar, we'll follow up with everyone to get an address and everything else so that we can ship this out to you. But yes, vitamin D3 for everyone on the call today. So I'm excited for you all to try it.
And the other thing
But
is, Tom, I think I know we're running short on time,
sure,
over on time, but you don't want to ever take too much vitamin D, right? It's fat soluble. Like, the amount is, I think, is it a spray of vitamin D3 for this
correct.
your
So,
product?
so when
Yeah.
it comes to the other part of vitamin D is the dosage. Everyone's going to have a bit of a difference here. And this is where maybe getting involved with your provider or your healthcare professional makes a lot of sense because people have different vitamin D needs, straight up. Okay. So that being said, one spray gets you about 1,000 IUs of vitamin D. Once again, this is just a measurement for a very specific vitamin, which is vitamin D. It's just in reference of measurement. Okay. You don't have to read into it too much, but typically what doctors will tell you is how many thousands of IUs that you need. Some people need 1,000, some people need 5,000, some people have a certain condition where they might even need more than that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what you're supposed to take. Like I can pretend like I know your health. What you need to do is just kind of follow up on that. But taking a single dose is always going to be safe and should be taken with fat soluble food. What's nice about our product being a spray is that not only is it convenient to take, kind of fit into a pocket or a purse or whatever else, but each spray is 1,000 IUs. So if you are a person that is needing a larger dose of vitamin D3, then you can just titrate it by the number of sprays that you take each day. Very simple, very straightforward. Massive value out of this kind of little guy here. When you guys all receive it, it's a pretty small bottle, but there's over 350 servings in it. So you're getting quite a bit of value when it comes to that vitamin D need. So super product right here. I'm excited to share it with all of you. Just make sure that you're not saying, "Oh, well, I want it's the deep winter. Let me just take 10 sprays and it will help me out." Please don't do that. That's not what vitamin D is built for. You're probably just wasting it at the end of the day. But that being said, really great solution for those needing vitamin D support.
Right. So I'm just going to recap quickly, right? Fiber,
Sure.
critical,
Yep.
vitamin B12, daily multivitamin, probiotics for a healthy gut,
Yeah.
and vitamin D, critical nutrients, all backed in research, and all help to support a healthy lifestyle and overall health and wellness.
Yes, I cannot stress enough how awesome all five of these are to supporting any kind of wellness routine. We kept things rather broad because these are the more broad supplements. If you want to get more specific and you're very narrow in what you're trying to improve in your diet, we do have other products for that. But when we were talking about today, it was the five products that anybody could take starting even now. And what I can also share right now is we have some pretty amazing early Black Friday sales going on. So I would recommend logging in today or over the next week or so. If you like what we talked about today, I definitely recommend taking a look at our website. You're obviously going to get your D3. So just make sure to look out for your emails on that one. But if you are interested in like MultiGuard Plus or our daily multi-fiber, I don't think there's a better time than right now to kind of just take a look and stock up.
Right. Right.
But that being said, I'm going to just pull up our Q&A real quick. It looks like maybe we have two questions coming in. So everyone still feel free to jump into that question and answer kind of feature here on Zoom. If you want to type in your question, we'll answer them live right now. All right. So Lori was asking, does the daily multi-fiber have any stevia in it? And you know what? I feel like I need to double check myself. So give me 1 second. And I will find out for you. This is why I keep all my products back here. And yes, it does have some stevia in it, some sweet leaf stevia. So we do not sweeten things at ND Pure with any kind of sugar. So you won't typically find sugar in any of our products. I'm saying only typically because if we make new products with sugar, then so be it. But as of right now, anything that tastes sweet of ours will be sweetened with that sweet leaf stevia, which is actually a more pleasant stevia if anyone has ever experienced the different brands or kinds of stevia. I do like stevia myself, but I do feel like it's not too strong or overbearing, and it's
That's
not
good.
overly sweet.
And I will say too, like I did some research on stevia and it does come from a plant. So it's like
Yes.
agave or, it's a plant-based, it's not an artificial sweetener. There are plenty of artificial sweeteners out there. And what I like about it too is it doesn't upset the gut. So there just seems to be, at least from what I can tell with daily multifiber, that just enough to not cause any kind of gastric distress or any kind of problems and just the right amount of sweetness. So
Yeah.
I do like it because it is natural and because it comes from a plant. And if I'm going to take any kind of sweetener, and I don't eat sweeteners normally, that stevia is one that I do trust and I do use on a limited basis. You don't want to overdose
Sure.
on anything.
Sure. And then the other question here is actually about oatmeal because it's kind of become a little bit of a hot topic as far as is this considered a healthy fiber or not? Some people like to demonize it because what I've at least seen is that it can spike blood sugar. Okay, so oatmeal, right? Oatmeal has been used for generations, millennia as a staple of a food to get you essentially carbohydrate energy. And carbohydrates in general, which fiber is considered a carbohydrate, if you ever look on the back of a nutrition facts panel, fiber is underneath that carb category, is absolutely crucial to energy level. And it's just so easy to demonize because, yes, it does cascade and it causes blood sugars to rise. That's eating food. That is eating food. And for certain people, obviously, you'd want to be careful how much you're raising your blood sugar, right? Like if you are a diabetic or if you are pre-diabetic, for example. Sure, we can understand that to a degree. But to completely demonize it and say oatmeal's not great, I had oatmeal this morning. It was
And I
delicious.
love
And
oatmeal. I have
yeah,
my steel cut oats in the morning. It's great.
it's
Um,
so modular, right? You can add whatever you want to it. A lot of the things we talked about today, whether you wanted to put nuts in it or fruit in it and get even more fiber, more benefit, maybe some healthy fats, fill yourself up. That fiber is in the oatmeal steel. Fiber, as we talked about too, stimulates GLP-1 production. There's so many other good things that oatmeal does. So not to say that he's maybe completely wrong, but I would not. I find it really hard to demonize almost any food thing on the market, okay? But other people will do that just to kind of get a little bit of fear into you, and I'm not a big fan of that. I'm just gonna put that out there. I'm not a big fan.
right. And everything in moderation, right, Tom? So like
Yeah,
if you feel like you have some concerns about oatmeal, maybe have it a couple times a week instead of every day. Or um, you don't ever want to overdo anything. And so
right.
a good, healthy, balanced diet with a lot of variety is really important for overall health. And
Absolutely.
yeah.
And what I was thinking too is really because we were talking about Dana's cool milkshake, right? You can put like that savory mocha flavored daily multifiber into an oatmeal. Now you've got like a chocolatey oatmeal with no
Right.
sugar added, right? Because it is that stevia, and you're getting that added layer of not only the five different sources of fiber, but a little bit of that probiotic nature. And now you've got like essentially a superfood.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So
Great
I would
products.
I would think about it that way.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I don't have any other questions here, and we're about 2 minutes over time. Sorry, everybody, but we're so glad everyone was able to join us today. We will be doing more of these webinars in the future, so keep your eye out. For everyone who has joined us today, make sure to look out for your email. We're going to follow up to get your address, get you your free sample of the vitamin D3 spray from NB Pure. I'd like to thank my guest here, Valerie. Thank you, Valerie, for giving us your top five supplements.
Thank you for
Um,
having me.
of course, I cannot agree more with what you've chosen. And for anyone who has additional questions, it's very easy to get in touch with us here at NB Pure. Just reach out through the website and make sure check out those Black Friday, Cyber Monday deals going on right now. We are here for your wellness needs.
And Tom, can I just add,
Yeah,
isn't that website linked to experts? So they're dietitians,
yeah.
yourself, and other dietitians on the staff?
Yeah. So if you are looking to get in touch with myself, we do have other experts on our staff here as far as answering your more specific questions, whether it's about products or nutrition in general. We are here for you. So don't hesitate to reach out. cs@nbpure.com right here is a really good email. You can call in. So just let us know how we can help best.
Thank you, Tom.
Of
And thank you,
course.
everybody, for joining today.
Yeah, yeah, we had a good time. We had a good time. All right. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, early, and have a great rest of your day.